All right, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today we are talking about Brooklyn. Now we're talking about two towers specifically that are currently under construction and almost completed in Brooklyn. But we're talking about these towers because Brooklyn's skyline has been improving dramatically over the past few years. There have been some absolutely beautiful buildings that have gone up, including the first super tall in New York outside of Manhattan, that being the Brooklyn Tower that was completed about 2 years ago. 1,066-foot building, which is absolutely a beauty of a building. And that really sparked that didn't spark it, but that has been kind of the center point of the Brooklyn skyline being redefined with all of these new projects, these new towers. There are a lot of them going up. There's been a lot of construction in New York outside of just Manhattan recently. We're talking about Brooklyn today, but also Long Island City in Queens has had a ton of stuff go up. And obviously, we have talked about stuff there before in previous videos, and I'm sure I will talk about them again in the future with how much stuff is going up. But we're talking about Brooklyn right now. So these are two of the tallest towers currently finishing construction. We're going to talk about this first one here, which is a pretty nice tower. This is the Brooks. So this is at 589 Fulton Street in Brooklyn. This is a 601-foot tall residential building. This is going to be 51 stories and about 557,000 square feet. And 591 rental units will be available in this building, which 30% of those will be affordable housing units, is what the developer has stated. So this is going to be a residential building, and especially with a lot of these buildings going up around outside of New York, they are majority, almost all of them are residential buildings as well. Just a little fact there. So this building is as well going to have about 70,000 feet for retail space down at the base. You can see the podium there in the rendering. So you're going to have some retail down there at the base and then all residential above that. So this building actually is pretty nice. I really like the way this building complements the Brooklyn Tower. Now you can't tell as much in the renderings, but in real photos, you can see how well this complements the Brooklyn Tower. It really helps fill the skyline in because the Brooklyn Tower is so much taller than anything else in Brooklyn. This really helps kind of mesh it together with there being not such a difference in the height of the skyline. You have another mid-sized tower in here, with this being about 600 feet or so. So it looks really good in the skyline, and which is very big bonus with this building. And it has a pretty nice facade there as well. Looks pretty solid right on the corner there. So it's a pretty central building to the Brooklyn downtown, and it looks pretty great in my opinion. So that is the Brooks. So now we're going to move on to the next building that we're going to be talking about, and this is 98 DeKalb Avenue. So this building is almost the same height, just a few feet taller. It is 610 feet and will be 49-story residential building as well. This one is going to be 418,000 square feet, and with 609 residential units, and only a little bit of commercial space, 3,700 square feet or so of commercial space. So this is the second building we're talking about. Obviously, we're talking about how the Brooklyn skyline is being changed so rapidly with a lot of these buildings going up. So we have another building here, similar height, around 600 feet. Residential, of course, going up here, and this is 98 DeKalb Avenue. So this one I'm not as big of a fan of. This one's a little more standard. The other building is very nice. I really appreciate that one. It's a great addition to the skyline. This one I'm definitely not upset with or anything like that. I don't think it's ugly by any means at all. I think it's a decent looking skyscraper, but it's just a little more bland, a little more, your standard modern architecture sort of skyscraper. So there's not as much going on with this one, to make it unique in the skyline, which is a little unfortunate because that is one thing a lot of the Brooklyn buildings have been doing, is a lot of very nice looking buildings have gone up in that skyline. So it's made it very unique and very, a very solid skyline. So 98 DeKalb is not quite as interesting of a building, but it is obviously another solid addition to the skyline, and then not really any complaints to it as well. So yeah, that is pretty much everything we're going to be talking about in this video. Just the rise of the Brooklyn downtown, a big change over the last few years in the downtown, and there is more to come. And these buildings are just finishing up construction, basically finishing up facade work and stuff like that. Be opening around next year sort of time frame. So these are about finishing up with their construction. So yeah.